Dave Anderson here with the Fisherman magazine. It's January 5th. These are your headlines. First up, it sounds like Massachusetts is going to follow suit with Rhode Island on implementing the trophy tog slot limit. We're also hearing about excellent trout fishing continuing on Cape Cod. And we've heard about some good salmon fishing in the Naugatuck River this week. Stay tuned for all that and more on this week's New England Fishing Forecast.
The fishing news is sponsored by these fine partners.
Before we begin, just a couple of news items I want to fill you guys in on. The first one is that trophy tog slot. It sounds like Massachusetts is going to follow suit with Rhode Island. That's something that I really like to see. There's no precise word on exactly what the limits are going to be, but definitely sounds like they're going to implement that 21-inch slot limit. So you keep one fish as part of your limit, whatever the limit happens to be. That's over 21 inches, and then all the other ones will have to be between 16 and 21 inches. This is a measure to protect a great fishery that's burgeoning over the last few years, and personally, I really like to see that happening. So that's one thing that looks like we're gonna see this year in Massachusetts, and as we get more news about the limits and seasons, we will pass those along to you. The other news item, of course, is the giveaway, which is ongoing now. We're gonna run this one all the way to the beginning of March, and I'm having trouble with the power in my shop right now, so I still haven't built the shop. I still haven't built the plug to show you guys, but I'm going to make a jointed GT, which is an awesome Gibbs plug from back in the day. And you know, if there's any electricians out there who want to help me troubleshoot, shoot me an email at danderson@thefisherman.com, because this one's really got me scratching my head. But as you guys know, the rules are quite simple. It's just a recent catch. Send it to me at danderson@thefisherman.com or text it to the number on the screen. And the only stipulations are, again, that it has to be a recent catch. Doesn't matter if it's freshwater, saltwater, or whatever. And it's got to show you with the fish. So it can't be a fish in your foot. You know, it's got to be you holding the fish. Other than that, get them out to me, and we'll pick a winner at the beginning of March. Starting things off in Massachusetts, it's been kind of a lean week on reports. We had some safe ice last week, then we had this warm week, and I think it kind of crushed a lot of the ice, but you know, a lot of the ponds still have a little sheet of ice on them, making them pretty hard to fish, so not getting a ton of inland reports. I did talk to Dan Southwick today, or we've been texting back and forth today. He's fishing somewhere down closer to the coast in Massachusetts here, and but he had two big largemouth this morning. He sent me pictures. I'll put them up here on the screen. He's fishing jigs right now, so he's just fishing deeper structure and just kind of bouncing those jigs along. But you know, he's getting some really nice fish. So if largemouth is your thing, we've had this stretch of warm weather. Looks like it's going to kind of continue for the next week or so. We got a few cold days in there, but the fishing has been better than you'd probably expect for January, and you got a good shot at getting a big fish. So definitely check that out. I did talk to James, and he sent us a video, so let's see what's going on in the North Shore and points north from there.
Well, quick little report this morning. Been hitting a few ponds, hit the Merrimack. As you can see behind me, we still got some skim ice up there. There is no ice anywhere, so, but that skim is making it tough to fish. But I've been out a few times, taken a couple of skunks. The other guys up this way aren't doing much better, but if you're out there, you're working it. Anyways, Dave, that's all from the new year so far. All right, talk to you later.
So as we've been saying, most of the fishing that's going on in Massachusetts right now is in freshwater, and the better areas to get that done are in the approaches to the Cape and out on Cape Cod. Trout fishing has been really good. We're hearing about some really nice fish being caught at night on shiners, big brown trout. It's a good time of year for that, and we've had great weather for it. So I was talking to Ian from the Goose, sent me a couple pictures. He's been crushing them. He said first thing in the morning before the sun comes up, or really any time in the first half of the night, it's producing well. The guys that are going out in the daytime are doing really well in artificials. They're throwing Ned rigs, they're throwing jerk baits, they're throwing all kinds of spoons and spinners, and they're finding lots of fish. The other thing that we're hearing about is bass fishing. We talked about Dan Southwick, he's doing well, and then out on the Cape proper, guys are doing well there as well. Fishing the same things, you know, throwing jigs, throwing neds, and just fishing slowly. It's been better than we would expect at this time of the year. So there's a lot of opportunities, especially out on the Cape. The only thing that you might find saltwater-wise is some holdover striped bass. You might find them up in the estuaries on the Cape. You might find them up by the Amelia Earhart Dam. My experience says that when we get these warmer shots of weather, especially when they're interspersed with some heavier weather systems, fishing can get pretty good. So it's definitely a good time of year to notch that January bass. And that's the story that I have for you guys in Massachusetts this week. Over in Rhode Island, sadly, we've seen the end of the black sea bass and tog season, so most of the party boats now have kind of packed it in. The Francis fleet is still running, and they've been doing pretty well on codfish. We're getting good reports from them just about every day that they run. Of course, the weather is the deciding factor on that, so if you want to head out with them, you definitely want to check the website or give a call before you drive out there, because if the weather's not going to cooperate, they're not going to run. But they said that they've been kind of playing musical chairs out there, hitting a lot of different reefs, a lot of different wrecks in deep water, 130 plus feet of water. And the fishing's been good. It hasn't been dynamite, but it's been good. They're finding fish just about everywhere they stop, and the action's been pretty steady. I also saw from my buddy Jeff Sullivan that the salmon are still biting in some of the ponds in Rhode Island this week. So if you check the DEM website, find out those 9 ponds that they stocked with salmon back on Veterans Day, and they're still biting well. You still get a good shot at them. And of course, any trout pond that was stocked in the falls also got a very good shot at producing fish for you. So that's another option for anyone out here in the Ocean State. And then the last thing we're hearing about in Rhode Island is just a little bit of holdover striped bass fishing. Sounds like it's slowed down a little bit, which is kind of surprising. But getting up into some of these estuaries is, it's like I've said before, it's kind of a hunt and peck thing. You got to hunt around a little bit to find them. But once you find them, they're usually balled up pretty good, and you can put together some pretty good numbers in pretty short order. So definitely want to give that a shot. Over in Connecticut, it's mostly freshwater game in Connecticut as well. The Black Hawk is now wrapped up for the season, now that the sea bass season is closed. And they were one of the last boats running out of Connecticut that I know of. So not a whole lot of saltwater action going on unless you're fishing for holdovers. The holdover bite's holding on very well in Connecticut, whether you're fishing in the Thames, whether you're fishing some of the coves in the Connecticut River, whether you're fishing some of those smaller rivers that have smaller populations, like up in the back of Naugatuck Bay, or whether you're heading out to the Housy, where the action has been good and just keeps getting better. We'll just stay on the Housy since I'm not going to get a video this week from Max. And what I've been hearing from the Housatonic is that the fish are moving north. So you're from Sunnyside north right now, for the most part. Or even, it's more like the Sportsplex north. And good action there. The daytime guys are getting a lot of smaller fish, a lot of schoolies. And of course, the nighttime guys are finding some bigger fish, throwing bigger baits. Saw another shot from on Instagram this week. I could put it up here, of another beautiful fish, another really nice Housatonic river fish. But you have to remember that these guys that get these really big fish, they put in a lot of time. They're there every night, and it's not typical to pull a big fish every night, but it is possible if you put the time in and you're willing to throw the bigger baits to cull out a lot of those smaller ones. But the Housy, overall, has been fishing very well. We've had some rain this week, which is definitely going to turn them on. And we've had, warm weather at night, which, makes it a lot more comfortable for anyone that, especially if you got to make a drive, makes it a little easier to get out there and make it happen. Moving inland on the freshwater front, trout fishing in Connecticut on the Farmington River, on the Salmon River, has been really, really good. For a little bit more on that, let's throw it over now to Derrick Kirkpatrick from Connecticut Fish Guides.
Hey Dave, coming to you this week from my fly tying room. So on the Farmington, they have released a lot of water. We didn't get a lot of rain, but the reservoir was basically full capacity. So they started releasing 900 CFS from the dam. Added with the Still River, we're up around 1,300 CFS. Normally, when we get water released, it's due to big rain events. So this was a little sneaky. So if you're headed out on the Farmington these next few months, just keep in mind that it may not take much rain for them to really open up the floodgates and to check the CFS readings, either from reports from like Upcountry Fly Shop or simply just Googling Farmington River's CFS flow. You should be able to get a report. On your streams outside of the Farmington, you shouldn't see as quite big as a bump in flow, but we're still seeing some days where we're going to have some rain in the near future. We've been on a warming trend, which is great. Air temp wise, we've been able to get out quite a bit, seeing a lot of folks out on the river. The fishing has been kind of hit or miss. Some days the fishing has been quite good with some sizable trout coming to hand, and other days there's small bite windows and it's a bit more difficult. So if we're talking about influx of flow, there's certain techniques and approaches that you can take. One is to upsize the size of the flies that you're fishing. I don't fish as many bugs when the water bumps up that high, and if I do fish bugs, it's large bugs. So I'm just going to go over just some quick patterns that I would use in high flows. So I have an example here of a jig streamer, so a little dirty stripper, and you can fish that on a tight line or a floating line or under an indicator. It's pretty versatile. So jigs, here's another one, can do quite well in increased water flows and slightly stained water. So the clarity also can attribute to color. So like if there's really muddy water, I like to fish like yellows. Black throws a good silhouette. Black is good in muddy water. And then in normal, kind of when the water starts to clear up a bit, but it's still high, your olives and whites like you see here work fine. Some bigger bugs that you can throw in high water are stoneflies. So we have a lot of golden stoneflies in the Farmington, and those are on a 3-year cycle. So in other words, they'll be in their nymphal form for 3 years before they actually hatch and become winged adults. So what that means is that they're always in the river. They're larger bugs, and the flows will, when they increase, will knock them into the drift, and the fish can see them even with a little bit of stained water, and they'll move for them even in higher flows because it's a worthy piece of food for them. Another example would be a mop, which has kind of become recently more famous on the tight lining scene, and also squirmy worms. So squirmy worms also stand out in stained water. Those are just some examples of some flies that you can fish. In really high water, you want to fish areas that get a little bit of protection from the normal flow of the river, the main current of the river. So if you can get behind islands or close to banks where the bank cuts in a little bit and it creates a soft pocket, there's going to be fish stacked in those areas. So reading water is incredibly important when you get increased flows. If you're on a smaller stream right now that isn't seeing that big of a flow bump, you can stick more with bugs or entomology. I'd start fishing early stoneflies. Those are going to hatch towards the end of the winter, but a lot of those nymphs are going to start to become active. If there's Hendrickson hatches on the rivers you're fishing, your crawler nymphs should be effective. On your tailwaters, you could see some blueing olive nymphs as well. That'll start to be in the drift. And then as we get a little further along, your hydropsyche and some of your caddis start to be more readily available. Another good winter fly that doesn't get much love is a case caddis. And those tend to do better with flow bumps or increased flow. So that's another one to keep in rotation. So that's it for this week. Back to you, Dave.
The other thing that we're hearing a lot about in Connecticut is that continuation of the really good salmon fishing. Now it seems like the Naugatuck is starting to shine a little bit brighter than the Shetucket. Saw multiple fish on Instagram this week, really nice sized fish that were taken by various anglers, including one by, I think it was either Derrick or one of his clients. And so that fishery is really pumping out some good fish this year, and it has been for over a month now. It's the best salmon fishing that I can remember hearing about in Connecticut, so if that's up your alley, definitely would be a good time to go and check that out. Of course, we've talked about the Housatonic already, and then the The last little thing that we can talk about is just some largemouth bass fishing that's been going on in some of the southern, some of the coastal ponds. We're hearing about some decent fishing there, just like we were hearing about on the Cape. The guys that are fishing slower moving baits and putting in the time to find the fish are having some success. My experience has been that, you know, fishing at this time of the year, you got to move around a little bit. You got to be mobile. But once you find the fish, a lot of times they can be really stacked up, and that can really that can make it so you have a really good day on the water. If you try to not move too much and you try to keep fishing slow, more of a chance you're not going to find any fish. But to wrap things up in Connecticut, let's throw it over now to Rowan Lytle.
Happy New Year, everybody. It's always nice when the new year starts as warm as this has. We've got pretty good weather for fishing over the next week or so. I mean, it's probably at its best today. It's about 60 in central Connecticut right now. The Connecticut River's on the high side at the moment. It's pretty muddy. Look for pike in the backwaters. You should be able to catch them on golden shiners under floats. You could also catch those on large flies fished rather slow on intermediate and sink tip lines. Trout fishing has been pretty hot. I had a client on the last day of 2022 that caught quite a few fish. Look for areas with clearer water where you keep getting influxes of rain, so some places are a bit muddy. The TMAs are producing reasonably well in the Connecticut River Valley. And there's plenty of other options as well. Panfish should be picking up. Now, it's not looking like we're going to get good ice anytime soon, but that's okay. I'm all right with this warm weather for a start to the new year. Good luck out there, everyone.
And to wrap things up in the reports, we're going to take a little short flight now down to Marina Pez Vela in Costa Rica and hear what's happening down there.
Hey there guys, this is Ben Gilmour from Costa Rica. I got the Green family here from Point Pleasant, New Jersey. Welcome guys to Marina Pez Vela, Costa Rica.
Thanks for having us, Captain Ben. We did great. I mean, we caught 3 rooster fish, the fish of a lifetime. It was totally amazing. Top-notch captain, top-notch crew. I suggest you get down here at Jackpot Sport Fishing.
Absolutely amazing day guys. We just caught 3 nice rooster fish, 3 snappers. The rooster fish bite's been good. The snook bite is good down here at the moment. Further offshore there's lots and lots of marlin. I caught marlin 6 days out of 7 over the last week. The sailfish are moving in and we got some mahi-mahi and tuna also. Hope to see you guys down here soon this winter. See you later from Costa Rica.
And that's what I have for you guys in the reports this week. A little lean, you know, it's January, but there's still a lot of fishing going on, and we've had the weather to make things happen. So get out there and give it heck, you know, and send me those pictures. Just might win yourself something cool. If you're not a subscriber to the Fisherman, I highly recommend heading over to the website and checking out what we've got going on. You know, we've got a lot of free content there. You can get a good flavor of what we offer. And as I always say, it's the best $30 you can spend in fishing. So if you've got a friend that loves to fish, or if you love to fish and you're not a subscriber, highly recommend shelling out that money. You're going to get 12 issues sent to your house. You're going to get 26 sent to your email box during the season. We get reports that cover Delaware all the way up to Maine and every fish in between. But at the very least, give us a like and subscribe here on YouTube. And I appreciate you guys for watching. And we'll see you next week.